My next guest is a Super Bowl champion and one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, recurring guest, Mr. Dick Vermeil. Coach, is everything going for you?
Everything's going fine, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any problems. I haven't lost a game in a long time.
So, what have you been up to? There's no football until September. What have you been doing to kill time?
Well, I fool around with our Vermeil wine business quite a bit, and things are going pretty good out there. Though the smoke from the fire destroyed our red grapes this year, so that's a problem. But right now it's going well, and I enjoy that business. And I stay in touch with a few of the football people to sort of try to stay up, but I think I fall a little more behind every year.
I wanted to get your opinion on this whole situation with Aaron Rodgers, and if you've ever seen anything like it.
No, I have such great admiration and respect for how he plays the game. Aaron is just, yeah, yeah, you don't need my accolades, but I'm disappointed in that he is such a figure within that community. And unlike other NFL teams, there's not one owner. That community really, in many small ways and contributions, owns that football team. And they live and die with each person, especially the superstar. And for him now to want out of there, he's not only leaving or the possibility of leaving a football team, leaving a community, and that disturbs me and disappoints me. He has his reasons, and hopefully it'll end up they'll won't get a divorce. Okay, let's hope, because no question, he's a great player and he is the figurehead of that football team, and I think that holds some responsibility to the community as well.
When you were with all different organizations you were a part of, how important to you guys was it to make sure the quarterback was 100% happy all the time?
Well, it wasn't as big a problem in the old days. Most of the quarterbacks I coached were just happy to be there. Ron Jaworski was really happy to be there. We traded Charlie Young, a tight end with the Los Angeles Rams, and brought him back to be our quarterback. And, he was from Youngstown, Ohio, and an East Coast kid. And I thought he'd fit really good in Philadelphia, and he has in his career after the game. So, I think he was excited to be there. Needless to say, Kurt Warner, he was so grateful, he would have probably paid us to play. So that's a different than we traded and brought Trent Green with us to the Kansas City Chiefs. And he was much of the same framework, just appreciative and grateful for his opportunity. And we gave up a high draft choice to get him to come with us. And he did, and he excelled. He did a great job. He lives in the community. He broadcasts their preseason games, and you see him on CBS. But those guys are a different mindset. They didn't come up as superheroes and projected to be Hall of Famers and those kinds of things. And I think they're probably a little more humble, maybe quite a bit more humble, maybe quite a bit more appreciative, and maybe a hell of a lot more grateful for their opportunity.
Do you think the just how big the game has gotten is playing into it? Or do you think guys nowadays don't really care about spending their whole career with one franchise?
I really don't know. And Sunday is still a football game. They still play football, and it's a wide open game today, much more so. It's not quite as physical a game as it used to be, but it's still a great game. And the TV ratings prove that, and the excitement the games draw each weekend, not only on local television, but national television. So it is really a great game. And it keeps growing. The money keeps getting greater. I think probably the more the money gets involved, especially with players, the more it influences how important they really think they are. Sometimes there's, I think, a distortion can occur when you become maybe a little bit arrogant, and you really forget what you are. You're a football player.
Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, the Chiefs season didn't end as planned. Wasn't exactly the most competitive game against Tampa. What were your thoughts on the game, and then how do you like the moves they've made since then?
Well, I felt they went into the game injured in the offensive line, and that's going to have a very negative effect on the quarterback. I thought they still might be able to win it. I didn't anticipate Tampa Bay and Brady to be able to play quite as well as he did, but you know what happens when a guy like him gets in the big one. But I think they've solved those problems. They've made many moves in the offensive line, but it's hard to hide those guys. And defense, especially good defensive fronts, locate who they are, and you can't double everybody. And the pressure it puts on quarterbacks, regardless of how mobile you are and all those kinds of things, You can't be what you really are when you're given time to be it. And Carson Wentz is the great example of that. His whole downfall, in my opinion, was the offensive line injuries. And I've never seen an offensive line get hurt as often and as permanent as this line was destroyed. And it really negatively influenced his career, and it would anybody's.
How do you see the Eagles doing this year? Obviously, with Carson Wentz now being in Indy, and now they got Jalen Hurts. What do you think of him, and how do you think they're going to do?
I think they'll be obviously a lot better than last year, but I think they'll be surprisingly good. You get an all-pro right tackle back healthy. You get an all-pro right guard back healthy. You get either a first-round pick from 2 years ago back healthy to play left tackle, or the big, strong Australian that came on as a non-football player, and it looks like he's going to be.
I think he was a rugby guy.
Yeah, rugby guy. You get him back. You got the left guard back. You got an all-pro center back. Why not have a good football team? Unless they go through the same injury problem, I think they'll be very good. They have skilled. Now they have 2 first-round pick wide receivers. They have 1 quality tight end locked in, and of course the other quality tight end may or may not be here. I hope he is, but I think they'll be an excellent football team. My concern is their secondary. Will that be good enough against the best? I don't know, but I bet they'll win 10 games, maybe more.
Interesting. Do you think Devontae Smith, the receiver they grabbed in the first round, Heisman Trophy winner, needs to put on a little bit of muscle, or do you think he can do it as is?
Well, I think he'll mature and he'll put on a few pounds, but I mean, he's a player. The whole idea of being a great wide receiver is be away from the defenders. Don't be where they can hit you hard, And I think he'll catch the ball with more space around him more often than most wide receivers, because he's elusive. He's a gifted player. You watch him play, he is gifted. Because he is lighter, is he more susceptible to injury? Probably, but you still got to hit him. So I think he's going to be an exciting player and a real great contribution to the Eagles.
What did you think of the hiring of Nick Sirianni?
I was disappointed they let Doug Peterson go. I thought he deserved another chance, because I bought into the fact that if I lost all my offensive linemen, my quarterback wouldn't play well. We're going to lose ball games. I've been there. I know where that happens. So I was disappointed. I don't know all the story, but I thought he deserved another year. And they parted ways, and now they got a new coach. I wish him luck. I've never met him. He's got a lot of fire, enthusiasm, and enthusiasm is sort of the engine that creates passion, and sometimes that's infectious as long as it's directed properly. And I give him credit for being ready to go. Yeah.
Do a lot of the current coaches of some of the teams that you were with reach out to you about kind of pick your brain about how you had success in those locations?
I didn't hear the last part of
your I was going to say, just like for example, for the Eagles, I assume Nick Sirianni hasn't reached out to you just to kind of.
No, I haven't met him. I haven't talked to him. No.
Interesting. And then I want to get your opinion on the Rams. Obviously got a brand new quarterback in Matt Stafford. Jared Goff is now in Detroit. What do you think Stafford can do that maybe Goff struggled with?
I think he'll add a consistency in high quality performances. He never really has been surrounded by a good football team. And I think they will do that for him at the Rams. And I was not down. I've seen Goff play outstanding, and I've seen him play. I can't understand if it's the same guy, but I think Matthew Stafford will shine out there. I really do. He's in the right place. They certainly know how to coach quarterbacks out there. And with his experience and overall talent, and you just look at his past performances on mediocre teams, I think he'll be a real factor in making them a very competitive football team.
What do you think sets Sean McVay apart from other coaches?
I think he's humble. He's willing to learn. He's willing to say, I don't know everything I don't know, and I'm going to learn. He'll ask questions. He'll take advice. He surrounds himself with good people. He had a great background. He learned from the best initially in his career. He brought to the Rams a scheme and a confidence in his ability to teach that scheme. And he's now added to the scheme through experience. He's added coaches. He's lost good players. He's brought in good players. They're very willing to give up high picks to get somebody more ready to play, a la George Allen, Los Angeles Rams. So, I like him a lot. I really do. I like him a lot.
What did you think of all the quarterbacks that went in the first round last month?
Well, I'm not an authority on those. Of course, number one guy, he's not a gamble. Most of the quarterbacks are drafted, or not most, but about 50% of them don't really meet expectations. Number one, they usually go to losing teams, and they can't build the rest of the team fast enough to allow this guy to develop confidence and perform well. But Trevor will certainly be, I think, a superstar in this league. The other guys, I don't know that much about them. I didn't see them as much. I don't see that much of the Oregon quarterback here in the East and those kind of things. And BYU, I don't see him out here playing that much. So I'm not knowledgeable enough to make an intelligent evaluation.
And I know you told me last time you always love giving guys a chance, and obviously you got Vince Papale a shot, you gave Kurt Warner a shot, you gave Dante Hall a shot. Do you think the NFL should kind of expand the pool of training camps and maybe get more guys in there that maybe otherwise wouldn't be out there?
Well, there's absolutely no correlation between working less and getting better. It doesn't exist in my knowledge, in my experience. And they're cutting out OTAs other than virtual. They're cutting out. The Eagles gave up their mini camp, their 3-day mandatory mini camp. They gave that up. So I don't like that. That doesn't mean I'm right. I believe in teaching. I believe in coaching. I believe in development of players, and the way they're going with the rosters and the schedule and the preseason. It makes it very difficult on coaching. There's coaching staffs between 22 and 25 people on the staff. And they don't have it, and they're paying them fortune to do nothing, really. And now they teach them to run the scheme, and I don't know how much time they are given to develop the players they're paying a lot of money to.
Are there any guys that are kind of maybe on the outside of becoming a head coach that you're excited to see what they do when they get to the next level?
No, I don't have that background right anymore. No, I can't see that.
And I wanted to ask you, so one of your guys, Harold Carmichael's getting into Canton this year. Did you, was he there before you got there?
Yeah. I had him 7 years.
How'd you find him?
Oh, outstanding. Just outstanding, and we were a run first, pass second. Even at that, I think he caught 79 balls 1 year. I think he averaged 16 point something yards of reception. Not many guys do that, especially in those days. But he's a great football player. Took a long time to get him in there. If he'd been playing today on today's rules, because he wasn't really quick off the ball, but once he got downfield and started running and lengthened out that stride, he could fly. And you didn't know how fast he was until you got next to him when you were 8-9 yards deep. Now he's really flying, and he could run by you. And there wasn't anything he couldn't catch. So, he's a Hall of Fame player. He's a Hall of Fame person. He's a good friend, and I'm really excited for him.
So he, correct me if I'm wrong, they originally had him at tight end and then moved him to receiver.
No, he was always a wide receiver.
Oh, he was?
I used to tease him. If he got over 230 pounds, I'd move him to tight end. So he never had trouble meeting his playing weight.
Speaking of tight ends, Tim Tebow's been on a hiatus from the NFL for quite some time. Is now trying to make it a tight end. Do you think a guy who's been out of the league that long still has a chance, or what do you think of that?
Well, he's going with his old coach, so that gives him a better chance than most guys would get. But the odds are probably not really good that he'll make it.
Interesting. And then do you have any? Are there any guys from the draft or maybe late round guys you saw that you're excited to see what they do at the next level? Maybe guys you've been watching in college ball?
No, I don't know the draft well enough to, I saw a lot of college football this year and I enjoy it, but I don't, I watch the game as a fan with a experience in coaching, and I like to see the schemes and the different things you see in college football, but I don't get into the evaluation of players and watch them enough to form an opinion.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, have you gotten a chance to go out to SoFi Stadium yet or not yet?
No, I have not been there. No.
Yeah, because that's all I think. It's 100% attendance they're aiming for, so it's going to be it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Stan Kroenke mentioned I should come out, so I might do that this year sometime.
Absolutely. And then I want to ask you about your wine. Can you talk about that a little bit and how can I promote that a little bit so people can check it out?
Oh yeah, just Google Vermeil wines. It was a hobby for a long time. Growing up in the Napa Valley like I did in Calistoga, the north end of the valley. And growing up in a family where your grandfather made your wines and your friends were all in winemaking and vineyards and that kind of stuff, I started making wine as a hobby, about 150 to 200 cases a year with a little winery called On the Edge Winery, Paul Smith and Mary Sue Frediani Vineyards, which I grew up in. My great grandfather owned a portion of it years and years ago. So I've been involved with the vineyard all my life. And we made, a limited number of bottles of Cabernet for from 1999 all the way to 2007. And in 2008, some good friends with a lot of money that don't mind losing some said, let's turn your hobby and processing people into a wine business. So we did. Now we're making award-winning Cabernets, and we make a little Sauvignon Blanc, a little Chardonnay, a little Zinfandel. It's a great vineyard. We have our leading wine consultant is Thomas Brown. I call him the Bill Belichick of the Napa Valley. He's a winner, and Andy Jones is On Hands winemaker. They do a great job for us. Our wines get anywhere from 90 to 96 grades annually. Our 18s have all got 94s and 95s. So I'm very pleased with that. We don't have a lot of it. It's not inexpensive, but it's high quality, good drinking wine. And we have about 350 wine club members now that get 3 shipments a year based on what they order. And the wine world now, we're just starting to go back to putting on virtual wine tastings and wine dinner, wine events to sell wine and to, create a bigger wine club. We have a tasting room in Napa, 1018 First Street. It's now open 7 days a week. It wasn't open all year last year. And we still did well. So that's a credit to the Andrew Curry and Kayla Jordan who run the tasting room out there for us. So yeah, just Google Vermeil Wines. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of former and current NFL guys that are really getting into wine. I know.
Yeah, there's some very big high-end basketball players where millions of dollars go. That's not our organization. We don't make much, but we make it very good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's really all the questions we really have for you. Do appreciate you taking the time to chat for a few minutes. Always a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your interest. Take care.
Absolutely.